Hey, what is up everyone? Today I'm taking a look at the high-grade Gundam Perfect Strike Freedom. As usual, this video right here would not have been possible without those absolutely awesome people over at Hobbylink Japan. So if you do want one of your own, or for any of your gunpla needs, link in the description. So this is my fourth Gundam Breaker BATTLOGUE review. If you have not seen the other ones, the first one was the Gundam Live Lance Heaven. The second one then was Gundam Helios. The third was yesterday, which was Blazing Gundam, and today is the Gundam Perfect Strike Freedom. So this is heavily based on the Freedom Gundam from 2016, with a bit of a Perfect Strike vibe. It does not have any perfect strike parts or any strike parts at all. It's mainly 2016 Strike Freedom parts with some new parts for 2021, and it does have some effect parts, funnily enough, from the Infinite Justice. But besides that, mainly Strike Freedom with some new parts giving it a Gundam Breaker veneer. So jumping into the overview of absolutely everything that comes in the box once you snap this together, and this is a kit that comes with a lot of plastic. That is the high grade Perfect Strike Freedom itself, that absolutely huge backpack, the Hyper Impulse Gun Agni, Anti-Ship Blade Schwertgewehr, and then we've got some alternate hands, that is the holding type. We've got some widespread up on the Gundam, we've got a beam shield, some beam effects, a wire, and a base adapter. So yeah, there is a whole lot in here. In the last video I didn't mention the leftover plastic. This does come with quite a bit of leftover plastic too. So when it comes to the leftover parts on the runners, we do have quite a few bits of leftover plastic. Not as much as I thought we'd have, because there's a lot of runners in this box. From what I can see, you cannot build the standard Strike Freedom Gundam out of this because we are missing a lot of parts, including the torso. However, in here we do get the two beam saber handles and the two beams, but they're from different kits. These beams are from the Infinite Justice, these are from the Strike Freedom, and therefore they do not fit. Too thick for the hole. You can trim them down and then you'll be able to use them, but they will need some modification. So starting off the aesthetics with that full 360 spin once again, so you can see everything, all the angles, so you can make up your own decision whether you like this or not. For me, I love to see mobile suits painted as different mobile suits, or should I say designed in the colors of different mobile suits in this particular situation. Like straight away when I look at this, my mind goes, that's Gundam Strike, but then you realize it's not because of the layout. So this is the Perfect Strike Freedom, which makes it a mashup of the Strike and the Strike Freedom. The torso is brand new for this kit, so that does give it a more strikey kind of vibe. And up on the shoulders there we have the things, the parts that make this look like it has both the sword and the launcher striker pack attached. Now these don't really come off like you would have with the Strike. These are pretty much a permanent fixture. A lot of the aspects of this are just straight up Strike Freedom, which is a good thing. It's got that killer Strike Freedom glare. I will mention the head here does have that seam line right down the side, which isn't always the prettiest thing to see, but it is par for the course for a high grade. And at the end of the day, what can I say? I love the flared out shoulder, narrow waist look of the Strike Freedom, and the fact that it has the classic Strike color scheme makes it so fun. So I guess that means it is time for that comparison. So there is the standard high-grade Strike. This is the high-grade Perfect Strike Freedom. And this really shows just how dynamic the Strike Freedom looks in comparison. Will mention I do not have the regular version of the high-grade Strike Freedom. I know you guys do ask for it quite a bit, so I'll make sure to try and get my hands on one of those as soon as I can. And speaking of what you guys want to see, what would you guys like to see first? So I've got this right here, the Master Grade 1/100 Maneuver Striker for the Eclipse Gundam. Of course, the Master Grade Eclipse being an absolutely kick-ass kit, and this looks like one hell of a striker pack. Or do you want to see this right here, the Real Grade Hyper Mega Bazooka Launcher for the High New Gundam? Once again, another ridiculously awesome kit being the Real Grade New Gundam, and this is basically a ginormous bazooka launcher for using with it. Let me know which out of these two would you like to see first, and I'll make that tomorrow's review. So it pretty much goes without saying that the high-grade Perfect Strike Freedom here is one absolutely gorgeous kit. That head is so dynamic, and the head right here is pretty much the only section that has some stickers. So when it does come to the stickers in this kit, this is all there is. We've got a grand total of, what the fuck? Master Grade Tulg ECW, that's not it. Here we go, I need to stop keeping so much trash around. So we've got 6 stickers and one is for reflecting the light, so I could pretty much ignore that. Anyway, this is what all the stickers look like when they are not used, and first one in here is pretty simple, and that is the eye sticker right there in the very classic Gundam yellow. This catches the light so well, there's a nice glint and reflectiveness to this particular sticker. The other ones then are these little stickers up on the head cameras, and I'll mention these are so small that they're actually a little difficult to attach. The one on the back is fine, but these two, especially the top one, is tiny. But yeah, if I slap the Perfect Strike Freedom down here and over on the other side put the line art of this particular mobile suit, Bandai have pretty much made this perfect. They probably designed it that way in advance, but nicely done. I think for me, this right here gets the perfect 5 out of 5 for aesthetics. They killed it here. Also, I will mention I did panel line it here and there, so that is a gray fill type Gundam marker. This is now my go-to panel lining pen. It's so simple to use. You basically just let it flow into all the lines and wipe off the excess using this marker right here, which is the panel line eraser. I use this with some cotton buds or Q-tips or whatever you like to call them, and you get it done so quick. Also, the lines are much finer than the felt tip pen. Definitely highly recommended. I'll put a link in the description. So it's about time we put the perfect in the Perfect Strike Freedom. So once again, here's the overview of all the accessories that come with this kit. Now let's get it kitted out. So besides these standard holding hands, we do get a pair of widespread dynamic hands in here, which always makes me very happy. Swapping the hands is the usual routine. These are all ball joint attachments, so just pop them off and pop on the other hand just like this. So the first weapon we have in here was always on the Perfect Strike Freedom all through this review so far, and that is the Rocket Anchor Panzereisen. The instruction says the rocket-propelled anchor on the left shoulder can fire a claw that can capture or destroy enemies. When it comes to the model kit right here, what that means is you can actually detach this off the shoulder like so. We have an included wire that attaches into the shoulder like this, then into the back of the Panzereisen. Now you can just pose it whatever way you want with that pliable wire, and the claw at the end can open and close just like so. The second weapon we have in here was on board the whole time, and this doesn't actually really do anything on the model kit per se. That is the Combo Weapons Pod. What it says in the instructions is, this weapon is attached to the right shoulder, consists of 2 types of physical projectile weapons, a Gatling gun and a micro missile launcher, and is mainly used to intercept attacks. Now the one thing that I'll mention that's kind of interesting about this is, Bandai decided to, I don't even know how to describe this, well, adopt the Calidus beam cannon from the abdomen of the Strike Freedom and adopt it into the back of this as part of its design, obviously to make it look a little bit more color separated, and that's a nice use of parts that would have just been, well, left over on the runner. So moving through the other onboard weaponry, next up we've got the blue little segment that is on the left arm. So this can be used to create a beam shield, and what it says is, similar to the base unit, the Gundam Perfect Strike Freedom has a defensive weapon created by improving the monophase light wave shield equipped by the Hyperion Gundam. This second thing this can do is emit the beam blade Licht Fang. A large fixed beam blade can be generated from the left forearm, and as far as I can see, this is from the beam boomerang of the Infinite Justice. Jumping on over to the other arm, and we've got this little green unit, which is a little bit different from the other arm, called the Stun Unit Indra. An electroshock weapon is built into the right forearm. It can launch its wire unit and release a high voltage current through it to apply negative status effects to enemy units. Now we don't have any wires for using with this, it just, well, looks nice on the same arm as the green Combo Weapons Pod. So it's about time to take a little bit of an intermission from checking out all of those weapons by finally converting this to the Perfect Strike Freedom Gundam. So that is by attaching on the big old Super Multiple Assault Striker. Exchangeable all-range unit equipped by the Perfect Strike Gundam. It consists of a central unit made up of an Ale Striker combined with Super Dragoons, a Schwertgewehr attached to the right, and an Agni mounted on the left side. Now I'll be completely honest at this point, when I actually saw this kit get announced, I thought this looked horrendous. I thought it looked like a big Ale Striker that was blunt, chunky, and just kind of odd, but once I built it, I really like it. It is huge and just looks like it's so powerful. This is an interesting take on the Dragoon wings of the Strike Freedom, definitely. So this backpack right here is absolutely and utterly intense. It is absolutely huge. Moving parts wise, it's got quite a few things on it. One of my absolutely favorite aspects is the fact that the rail guns from the side skirts have been moved up onto the top right here. I always find them a little bit annoying when they're actually on the side skirts. So the fact that they're up out of the way is pretty cool. So these can rotate round over the shoulders like so, and fold out like that, and get ready to keep bomb blasting. The The wings on this absolute beautiful monstrosity can move quite a lot. You can move them up and down like that. These can also rotate to get the angle that you want out of them. These guys, just like the Ale Striker pack, these are on ball joints so they can move around a lot too. And you can make it look like it's flying off to the left and right and taking, you know, some downwards and upwards altitude movements. This is a pretty cool pack. The weaponry is stored around here so you can pop off of the number 1 and then flip around and pop off of the number 2. And now it's time to check these out. So first off in here we've got the Hyper Impulse Gun Agni. This beam cannon generates and emits critical energy in a highly compressed state as a burst impulse in the order of microseconds. The firepower of the base weapon has been kept, while it has been downsized to enable the Gundam Perfect Strike Freedom to carry it with a single hand. Attaching this in involves one of these holding hands, so make sure to pop off the back, stick it in there in the rifle mode first off, pop on the back like so, and then it's just the usual popping it into the hand, just like that. So I'll mention the design of this can be mildly annoying because the handle right here does block it being able to be held normally. So you're going to have to kind of always tuck it inside the arm like so. So it will be at a bit of an awkward angle. And now moving on to the second weapon that we've got stored back here. And that is the anti-ship blade Schwertgewehr. This is a large melee weapon with a physical blade that can also create a beam blade. The weapon seen on its base unit is held with both arms, but the Gundam Perfect Strike Freedom was powerful enough to wield it with one arm. So if this pair of weapons wasn't cool enough already, you can actually combine the two. So by taking the blue sword and connecting it into that green gun, then you get this absolutely huge weapon right here. Now we can attach another beam effect around back, so it's almost like a double-sided big old beam broadsword or claymore. And then you can just pop it into the hand just like you would have before. And once again, this kit has no issue holding up this ginormous weapon. Just look how absolutely badass that looks. That is a cool gimmick right there. So the last accessory we have in here is an action base adapter. Now, I will mention this does not fit onto your standard style stand or action bases in one with a 3mm peg. This actually attaches into one of those square holes which you need an adapter for most action bases. Then you just stick this adapter in like so, and it's like a cradle for the striker pack round back, pop it in like this right here, and this is what you get. It's got a super secure connection and it holds on absolutely perfectly. Actually, that is not the last thing in here. I almost forgot. Each one of these red pieces on the backpack is one of the Strike Freedom's Dragoons, so they can all detach just like this right here. That is a grand total of 8. Now, there is nothing for this to actually attach onto in order to display it in flight. There is no base adapter or anything like that, so I'm not sure if Bandai will actually ever release something, or are you just going to have to try and, you know, wedge it onto something like so in order to have it sort of displayed beside the Perfect Strike Freedom. So finally now jumping on to the articulation and the build, and for the most part I've found this rock solid besides one thing, and that is just particularly this. This just constantly pops off on me the whole time, but this one doesn't. Just that one. Strange. Anyway, let's go. So the neck on this is not our standard polycap joint, so this doesn't actually have much of a giggity at all. It actually doesn't have much articulation at all anyway. There's all the way up, there's all the way down. Side to side is somewhat blocked, and we do have that side to side pivot, but not great. The shoulder polycap there is aligned front to back, so that does mean on top of the usual ball joint roll, it can actually swing forward and back just like this. We've got that full 360 rotation right here. The arm can be raised up to that point right there. We've got full spin at the upper arm, a double jointed bend at the elbow, so that is pretty much perfect. And the wrist right here is your standard ball joint and nice and secure. So the design of the ab crunch on this is actually pretty alright. There it is all the way to the front and all the way to the back. So one more time, forward and back. Now the lower joint in here is just a peg like this, which is actually quite a smart idea considering we already have ab crunch up here, because that does mean it is good and strong, so it's not going to flop backwards with that giant backpack. We also have that full 360. A tiny little bit of side to side. Front skirting armors on the usual ball joints flip up like so. Side skirting armors can move up and down ever so slightly, but no back and forward. And we do have a premium butt flap. As for the hip joint, this is a side to side swinging one in this kit. As for the kicks then, there it is all the way to the front, so not too bad. All the way out to the back, so that premium butt flap not getting in the way. And as for the splits, we get that before it gets blocked by those side skirting armors. Spin at the upper leg gets you from here to here, so no full spin. This right here is our bend at the knee, so not too bad. It doesn't actually bend in a very pretty sort of way, but it goes all the way back. And finally then, checking out the functional movement on the ground without lifting the foot. There it is all the way to the front. There it is all the way to the back. And there it is side to side, so not too bad. Finally then, we do have a bend at the toe, and it can move down just like so, and just down, which is still enough. So when it comes to the articulation on the high grade Perfect Strike Freedom, for the most part it is fantastic. The neck is probably the most limited joint on here, but besides that, you're going to get most of the poses you want out of this. And it's going to look pretty dynamic to boot. So anyway, that right there is it for the review of the high grade Perfect Strike Freedom. This is a very, very, very good kit. Aesthetically, this ticks all the boxes. The only color correcting stickers we have in here are foils for the eyes and the head camera, but besides that, it is essentially line art accurate. The accessories in here are really cool. We've got that massive backpack covered in dragoons. We've got a multitude of different armaments on the Perfect Strike Freedom itself. And then we've got the sword and the beam rifle that combine together into an absolutely massive sword. And honestly, there's just so much to do here. This thing is armed to the teeth. Awesome. Lastly then, when it comes to the articulation, this will get you pretty much everything you want. There are some poses not going to pull off all that dramatically, but for the most part you're going to get everything you want and maybe even a little bit more. So that does mean to me, this right here is definitely a better than average high grade, making this a great high grade, making this gold tier. Honestly, if you love Gundam Seed designs, or if you just love the design of this particular kit right here, you cannot go wrong. It is absolute fun. Anyway, if you do want one of your own or for any of your gunpla needs, there's a link down there in the description. You can get yours from Hobbylink Japan. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more gunpla reviews, and I will see you next time. Once again, I cannot finish this video right here without thanking those who support me here on the channel as members and over on Patreon, including Craig Jerry, Caleb Engelhardt, Van Fawn, Global Frequency Studios, Lauren Seahack, Joseph Kukluk, Mr. Winter, Forsetti, Joe, Org59061, and Gunpla UK Limited.